Let's see, I'm Harry Guerrero. I'm the co-founder of Exumed Films. We are a film collective that has been operating since 1997. We've been showing horror, cult genre movies on the big screen in theaters, for almost 30 years now. And as a result of all these screenings, we've amassed a huge archive of material that we use for screenings all across the country. We rent out to film festivals, and we use them for our own shows as well. We started collecting the film prints out of necessity. So when we first started doing our film screenings, we would search high and low for producers, studios that had films, and at the time there was no one really doing the kind of films that we wanted to show. And we're talking about the Dario Argento movies or the Lucio Fulci films, stuff like that. So there were films that were not released by the studios. There was no one really we could go to rent this stuff, to borrow prints from. So it was a heck of a lot easier to find this stuff on the collector market and then search for the rights holders than to find the rights holders only to learn that they didn't have any prints of any of the material anyway. It was something that we needed to do if we wanted to, facilitate our own screenings. Okay, well, the Gap Theater was built in the late 40s. It's owned by Joe Ferrugio, who owns the Mahoning Drive-In Theater, so we knew Joe getting into this. And when I found out from Mike and Kate Drumboard that this theater was right around the corner from them, I'm 2 hours away, so it's, I didn't know anything about it. But they told me this theater, their neighborhood theater, was closed down, and that it was owned by Joe. Since we knew him, we were like, let's talk to him and see if we could open this place back up and start doing film screenings here again. We talked to Joe, and a week later we were in here clearing it out, and we spent about 2 years refurbishing it, cleaning it, and we reinstalled a completely new 35mm film system upstairs. It was great reopening it. It felt good reopening the place. Let's see, what was it like? It was great. For the longest time we've wanted our own home base. Exumed Films, my film group has been operating for almost 30 years, and we've always rented theaters or four-walled theaters or partnered with theaters. So we got the scraps of what we could get, as far as dates were concerned. So this was a really great thing to be able to have and control our own place where we can program anything we want every day, all month long, all year long. So it was a thrill to open the theater up. Opening night was Raiders of the Lost Ark and Temple of Doom. A double feature that we thought would get the townies in, and people who wanted to see movies on the big screen. They were two perfect big screen movies, and aside from that, Raiders was the first film that I remember seeing as a little kid in a theater. I would have been 5 years old when I saw the movie, and it was probably the first movie that made me sit up and make me realize that I was watching a movie by people who knew how to make movies. The opening scene when Indy, cracks the whip, really got me, as a little kid. So I kind of thought back to that, when I thought of the first film that we were going to, reopen the Gap with. So that was my first thought. The town has responded very favorably to reopening the Gap. They want to see the theater open. They don't want to see a closed down, theater right on the main street in town. So the town has been pretty enthusiastic about the Gap reopening. We're seeing mostly people from town and locals coming to the shows. We've been doing the screenings all over the East Coast really for a long time now, and we see a lot of people at a lot of different shows. But for the most part, most of our audience is local to the theater here, so that's a good thing. We're reaching a part of the public that we ordinarily hadn't reached before. It's surprising, that we haven't reached some of these people, at other shows. A lot of people are asking for the same movies that we've played many times at the Drive-In or at the Colonial or the International House in Philadelphia. But these are people that just hadn't traveled. But they're coming to the Gap, so that's great. But we're just starting here, really. We have a long way to go as far as reaching people. in promoting the theater and making people aware of what we're doing here, because there's still a lot of people who have no idea, that we're even here and open and doing what we do. 35. Why 35 millimeter? So, well, when we first started doing our screenings, that was all there was. We started in '97, so video was on the way out, DVD was on the way in, and 35 millimeter was all there is. That's going to movies meant seeing something on film. It meant film projection. So there was no other option when we started. And we started Exumed Films to preserve the theatrical movie-going experience, and that meant movies on film, on the big screen with an audience. We wanted as much as possible to bring back that original film experience of seeing something on the big screen for the first time.
So right now, this is the original projection booth of the Gap Theater. Originally opened, I believe, in 1948 or 49. We totally re-outfitted the booth, restored it back to its original condition, more or less, as it would have been. Originally, it would have been we restored it to a 2-projector changeover system. So one reel's paying out, the other reel's threaded up, ready to go. Each reel of film can hold up to about 21, 22 minutes. So average film, 5-6 reels being changed over one after the other to keep the show moving seamlessly. This booth originally, they had closed it off and installed digital projection until the theater closed in January of 2020. And then we brought back 35 millimeter projection here when we reopened earlier this year.
The process of booking 35 millimeter films is a relatively easy one. You contact the producers or the studios and license the film. If they have a print that you want to bring in, that's where it can get expensive. That's where running a theater on 35 millimeter is its most problematic. Because these days the costs of shipping a print, back and forth, can be, $300, $400, round trip, easy. So when you're doing 50, 60 films like we are a month, that's our biggest expense. Luckily for me, I have thousands of 35 millimeter prints at my disposal, so we've been programming the Gap, 95% of the time, using prints from my collection, so we're saving that expense. And I'm working out deals with the studios, so we're paying percentages, not flat fees, stuff like that, just to get us started here while we find our audience, while the audience finds us, and we get our feet on the ground. There's tons of films out there that we would love to show, and part of what we want to do here at the Gap is deliver on showing those movies that you can't see anywhere else. It's one thing for every theater in the country to be playing Goonies, or more apt, everybody in the country right now is showing Jaws, and it's great to get on that bandwagon. But we've always wanted to show the films that don't get shown as often. That's what we want to use the Gap for. We're trying our best to present as broad a program right now as possible and show as many of those big mainstream kind of films as we can, just to get noticed. But we want to show the films that kind of slip through the cracks and don't often get repertory play. I want to do Jaws with Orca. Jaws is on moratorium right now, so we haven't been able to show Jaws. You can play it at any first run theater right now, but repertory theaters, it's unavailable. But it's a good example. We want to do the kind of films that don't really get seen, and that's what we really want to use the Gap for. Well, I love what we're doing here at the Gap. I mean, we're getting an opportunity to show a wide variety of titles, and we're doing about 50 to 60 films a month. And that in of itself, for 3 of us, we have some projectionists in training. So there's 4 of us, 5 of us about. But that's a huge commitment and undertaking for such a small band of people. So I think I'm most proud of the fact that we're putting this whole thing together on a super tight shoestring budget with the smallest crew that's ever attempted anything like this. But we're doing that again out of a necessity, to keep things on the cheap and still be able to do what we need to do here. When we started, the programs here at the Gap, I've done some Sam Peckinpah tributes and some Don Siegel tributes, and I don't feel the audience is quite ready for the kind of films that I want to play here. I want the Gap to be, a safe house, or a showcase for, everything. And I certainly want to show, my favorite films. And I'm a big fan of all the Craftsman directors, Don Siegel and Andre de Toth and Bud Bedecker and people like that. And now you're getting into, some obscure territory for some people. But that's what we want to do. We want to educate the public. We want to, inspire the public to come out and see things that they haven't seen before. And hopefully we can do those kind of movies and get an audience for them.